Welcome to episode 29 of the Brew Crew Scoop. I'm excited to say that for the second episode in a row, I get to talk about Snoop Dogg. So we'll get into that for sure. But what's going on?
Nothing. Got the heat wave coming through Milwaukee, so I got the Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, you get your air conditioner fixed.
I got one rolling. So yeah. The joys of a nice old home.
Yeah. Um, we'll talk about Snoop Dogg again, but biggest biggest thing that I wanted to shout out right away is let's get Christian Yelich and William Contreras and Joey Ortiz into phase two of All-Star voting. So Yelly and William are looking good. Fortunately, Terang and Adames might be a lost cause to start the game, but let's get Joey Ortiz into the phase two of voting. Top two from each position move on. So get out there, MLB.com/vote and vote for the Brew Crew. And then we might as well just get right into the weekly recap. We saw the Blue Jays come into town last week. Colin Ray gave a homer to Alejandro Kirk in the third, but that's all that he would allow through seven. Churio and Adames hit solo homers, and Willy added another run with the sac fly. Brewers won 3-1, and McGill got the save. Game two against the Blue Jays, Carlos F. Rodriguez became the 12th starter used this year, made his major league debut, went 3 and 2/3, 7 hits, 2 earned, 4 Ks, 1 walk. Peguero and Koenig went 3.1 scoreless. Paredes gave up 1 earned over 2 innings, and the Brewers were blanked by Yusei Kikuchi and company in a 3-0 loss. Game three, Davis Schneider opened the scoring with a first inning solo shot, but a 5-run first inning highlighted by Blake Perkins' steal of home and Willy Adames' 2-run bomb. Did I say that wrong? Was that the first inning? Can you double check that for me? Game three of the Blue Jays? I feel like that's a typo, but it might be right. I feel like that was a long time ago now. But a 5-run inning nonetheless, highlighted by Blake Perkins' steal of home, Willy Adames' 2-run bomb, and gave them the lead. Got interesting off of Hobie at the end, but McGill closed it out with the 5-4 win.
I think it
And
was the
then
sixth inning.
there you go. I didn't think it was the first. It must have been a fat finger there. Then the Reds came to town for the weekend. Game one, Contreras homered, but Freddie struggled a bit again. Things got really interesting in the ninth for the Crew, but Blake Perkins' blunder on a bunt ended it. With the tying run in scoring position and 2 outs, they lost 6-5. Perkins addressed the media after the game, saying he just wasn't trying to play hero too hard and felt more confident in the guys behind him, and it was just not even a mental mistake. He thought through it, but maybe looking back on it, he'd say it's a mental mistake. Reds game two, Sal Frelick bobblehead day, and Snoop Dogg was at the field to throw out the first pitch, do a little announcing before his concert at the new amphitheater at Potawatomi. Brewers didn't really advertise. It was kind of cool to see him come out on the field. We were tipped off to it before the game, but the Brewers didn't post anything about it, so pretty cool to see him come out of nowhere. Joey Ortiz had a 3-run homer in the fifth, and that was the difference. They won 3-1. McGill got the save again. And then game three against the Reds had a 3-0 lead on Ray, but Churio's RBI ground out, and then a huge Willy Adames 3-run homer in the sixth. Yelly had a squeeze bunt to add a run. Ellie De La Cruz homer to make it interesting again. But the Brewers won 5-4. Perkins saved the day to end it with a throw out to home plate. William Contreras got hit in the head. He did sit out of yesterday's game, but it looks like he's in the lineup for tonight, Tuesday. So that's good to see. An awesome call by Bob Uecker. And then last night in LA, Angels game one. Ryan Braun is in the booth visiting. Carlos F. Rodriguez made another start. He gave up 4 earned over 5 and 2/3 while combining with Gary Sanchez to become the first battery to wear 00 and 99. Bowers had a 2-run homer early. The Brewers had a couple of base running errors directly before Bryce Terang home run, so that was unfortunate. But he homered with 2 outs, solo shot. That would be all the scoring they would have. The Brewers lost 5-3 against a pretty miserable Troutless Angels team. Brewers are 4-3 on the week. Another week where I feel like we're just at or above 500, which could be viewed as, the team not getting crazy hot at any time. But you'd be hard pressed to find too many weeks where we are under 500. So keep on chugging along. If they played 500 ball the rest of the way, they would be winning like 90 games ish. I'd have to do the math. But So yeah, just keep staying over 500 every week. 2 series wins, and they are 42-30.
Oh yeah, we got to take care of the Angels next couple days. Keep the streak going. Keep winning some series. We just quietly, I feel like, win series. What was that? 2 weeks ago when we dropped
Yeah.
Phillies, and I
Yep.
was like, oh boy, but right back on track. So just keep rolling, like you said.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen the Snoop Dogg talking to the booth, I don't know how you missed it, but that was incredible. The vibes on this team, I know that it's kind of out of a major league team's control if they can get Snoop Dogg to come to the field really or not, but just goes along with all the good vibes this team has had this year. It was really awesome. Really, really fun to see all the young guys getting their autograph and Quentin Berry giving him the ball after the first pitch as if Snoop Dogg wants a ball from Quentin Berry.
Yeah, it is funny that we've been in some of the media all year with some of the fights and playing really well, but still, it takes Snoop Dogg in the booth to get the most eyes on the Brewers, it seems like.
Yeah,
But it's kind of funny. I was thinking Rock had his celebration or whatever on um,
Friday.
Friday for 30 years, and they had a bunch of the past broadcasters that he's worked alongside come back. And now I'm wondering if for the 40th anniversary, Snoop's going to probably pop back.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. That was incredible what the Brewers did. They brought in Levering, BA, Vescursion, LePay,
Friend of the pod.
Sutton, friend of the pod, Matt LePay, that's a fact. Um, to all do an inning with him. So really cool. How about Pat Murphy recognizing how bad the Brewers have been with runners in scoring position lately? I would assume it was his call and pulling the old first and third little league steal, and immediately the floodgates opened and in a win. So that was really cool. Um, something that not to talk about our ex too much, but something that I just don't see happening with Craig Counsell as the manager.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of things I think that I don't know. I think probably on the full season, sometimes the impact of the manager might not be all that great. Might be, might not be, right? But the front office has a lot of say and control, and the players obviously have a lot of say and control. And a lot of the time, decisions make themselves in baseball, like we know. Like if you looked at the Brewers roster, majority of the guys playing every day is probably who you would have thought, at least as far as the lineup goes. But just some of the extra flair that this team has and fire is pretty obviously attributed, I think, to the switch of managers. So it's fun to see. And it is also fun to see Cubs Twitter start to uh, get a little angry, which in all honesty, seems a little overstated to me. I don't really know what
Yeah,
Craig's supposed to do about
their
the
pen
guys
is
who are supposed to be good in
brutal.
his pen sucking, but it's still funny to see.
I know the Cubs fans found my tweet the other day, and don't get me wrong, I always root against the Cubs, but I tweet about him a lot more now that it's Counsell there, just because I thoroughly enjoy seeing him not doing well. And they're all like, "Oh yeah, you've never won a World Series," and it's kind of funny to me when I'm going at Craig Counsell and all the Cubs fans defend the Cubs. I'm like, I'm not even really coming at you guys right now at all. It's just funny that you guys don't really like him yet, and you're defend whatever. I get it. I started it. You know what else I love about Pat Murphy this week is after the Blake Perkins miscue, like he gets in the interview and he's like, "Yeah, that was like I forgot how he phrased it, but that was stupid. We'll talk. He's a good player." Like he adds a little bit of substance to his interviews. It's not just a
Uh,
look. We need Blake. We need Blake to be
yeah,
good. Like he's
yeah,
not afraid to say when one of his players screwed up. I like that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
guys aren't going to get mad about that if they screw up and the manager says, "Yep, you screwed up, but we're going to have his back." Like I
Hmm.
love that kind of stuff, and it's just a little extra icing on the cake with Murphy that I love. Yeah, but we have been brutal with runners in scoring position. I just looked before the game or before the podcast. Um, we were dead last in uh runners left on base in scoring position, 3.89 per game. The Cubs are at 29th with 3.84. For comparison, the best in the league is Miami, I guess, with 2.82. I would assume that's more of a case of you can't even get the runners into scoring position to begin with, but something that I don't know how you really address that because the offense has been good. It just seems like last night, especially against the Angels, against a not so great Zach Plesac, um, you get all these runners in scoring position and then strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. So I don't know what the fix is there, but we only seem to really have that issue when there are runners in scoring position. Other than that, we have no problem like smacking the ball around, finding holes, and getting on base.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not that worried about it, I guess, yet, but we'll have to see. I agree. I mean, the only thing you can do about it, obviously, is you'd add, I guess, better hitters to the lineup. But like you said, when you look at our lineup and how everyone's performing, I don't even see really where you do that. That was something actually I've been thinking about because some of the deadline talk's starting to heat up. And in years past, I feel like it's obvious where at least we've added a veteran that's okay that we throw into a spot. But it's like when you look at our lineup right now, I don't really know where you even add a piece realistically.
Right.
Like maybe you could argue you add an outfielder because we haven't had great offensive production out of some of the outfield, but Churio's heating up and Mitchell's about to be back.
Mm-hmm.
And Frelick, I think, can only get better. I'm not saying I guess he'll be insane, but I don't think he'll play worse than he has this year, and he's been okay. Um, so yeah, it's just to play to your point. I don't really know what you do about it.
Yeah, and despite having a really thin starting pitching rotation and Freddie not being really peak Freddie right now, the hitting with runners in scoring position has reared its ugly head more than the fact that we're running out like
Yeah.
Jared Koenig to start every other day. It's kind of crazy what we've been able to do. Also, Reese Hoskins has been struggling quite a bit. Bowers too before the home run, but
Hey, Reese Hoskins is fourth in DH voting in the NL.
damn right.
He is he's buried behind
Shohei and Marcel.
possibly much better candidates, but
Yeah.
I think Schwarber is the third who also it's June, so by the end of June, Schwarber might be an MVP candidate.
Yeah, hopefully Reese can pick it up.
I think he
Um,
will too. I
I do,
mean,
yeah.
coming off the injury and all that stuff, and I don't know. And even when he's not hot, like you can tell he's a clubhouse guy for
Oh yeah.
sure. Like even the pictures with like him and there was the one with him and Snoop, and
Oh
just
yeah.
obviously the start of the year with the crying and all this
Yeah.
stuff. He'll be a good guy to have around in the playoffs. And at this point, that's what we're playing for. So as long as he gets hot, hopefully in end of the season, I'm happy with him.
I'm just realizing that we need to name this episode the Brew Crew Snoop.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Scoop dog.
I just saw your name on there. All right, who was your untouchable pitcher of the week?
You fellas are untouchable. Is that the thing? No one can get to you?
Untouchable pitcher of the week. Actually, kind of an obvious answer, I guess, when you consider the double starts as Snoop Dogg, the fantasy connoisseur over there, loves is the double start fantasy week. Well, we had a double start week in since we last talked out of the unbelievable, I guess, Colin Ray, in my opinion. I don't know how he does what he does, but he goes out there and gets the job done almost every single time. Um, 2 wins since we last talked. 13 innings pitched, 7 hits surrendered, 1 walk, and 10 Ks. Again, can't ask for anything more out of Colin Ray. I guess I don't want to put the curse on him, but if he fell off the face of the planet today, he already gave us, I feel like, enough value from what we paid for out of him. Happy to see him have success. So next time I see his brother, I'll have to give him a wave.
Yeah. That would be Colin Ray's brother that we saw in New York and he yelled Colin Ray at before he realized it wasn't him. And he didn't look
Yeah,
too thrilled.
yeah.
Just to add to that about Colin Ray, I saw a tweet from Kurt Hogue that 29 other starters received a higher AAV this offseason from him or in free agency. Well, I guess that's how I interpreted it. I don't think he meant 29 that have been higher this year, but in free agency this last year, and only 4 had been worth more WAR. So pretty incredible what Colin Ray
Yep.
has been able to do for the Brewers the last year and a half, just kind of out of nowhere.
Yep. Otherwise, Bryce Wilson and Tobias Myers both had good starts. Both guys that have overachieved from what we probably expected them to do. And go figure, Brian Hudson pitched 3 innings and gave up 0 runs. That's kind of actually the new ad, Eliser Hernandez, he did go 4 innings and hasn't given up an earned run yet. So that's good to see. The kind of rotation of bullpen arms has been rather impressive this year, no matter who we seem to call on. So
Yeah, and how good has Trevor McGill been just quietly with 13 saves
yeah.
with missed time in the middle of June.
Well, and from fainting at a
Right.
phone store.
That's what I
Yeah.
meant. Missed time
Oh,
up to the
sorry.
point and still 13 saves in the middle of
Yeah.
June. Yeah.
I thought you were referring to his last injury
No,
when
that
he
too.
took
That too.
a liner off the forearm.
A
Just the
couple.
classic baseball injuries for Mr. McGill here.
The food poisoning, fainting,
Yep.
and yeah. Who's your hot hitter of the week?
Stop dropping on fire, Ricky Bobby! I'm on fire! He's so hot right now.
So the hot hitter of the week actually didn't have a ton of hits, but he did slug quite well in the last week, and it's got to be Willy Adames. 23 at bats, an unusual 6 walks, 3 Ks out of him and over that span. So kind of an interesting flip because we all know he does like to swing the bat. 2 steals, again, not necessarily what you'd expect out of Willy. 2 singles, 5 runs, 8 RBI, and 3 home runs. So got to give it to Willy there. He brought us back into some games, and yeah, he's a slugger. Got to give him
Huge
that.
home run.
Yep.
Joey Ortiz too with the big home run this week. Both of them game changers.
Churio actually was heating up this week too. His OPS since we last talked was like 879. So, and he wasn't even hitting the ball necessarily as hard as he has been. And his profile, like he doesn't necessarily have to. He can reach in there in his bag and pull out a dinger, but he can get it done a lot of different ways. So hopefully we keep seeing that. That's a key.
Yeah, he's been really good the last couple weeks. Really, really exciting to see. And then I already dropped my Statcast nugget about the leaving runners in scoring position, but do you have anything else for us for Statcast?
Yeah, talking about a guy that went yesterday, and we went to Carlos F. Rodriguez's. Is that proper grammar there? I know you're the grammar guy.
Yeah, I don't know with the Z there.
Rodriguez.
I think it's
debut.
Rodriguez's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just one though.
Yeah.
But we went to his debut on Tuesday, and then yesterday, I don't want to say a similar outing, but saw some good things, saw some bad things. So I just wanted to quick dive into the 2 starts we had to look at in Savant. And one thing that we kind of knew about him too, I think he was talking about Carlos F. Rodriguez, but Javik said he'll throw the kitchen sink at you. Might have been about a different pitcher, but even if he wasn't talking about him, he was, because he has 6 different registered pitches that he's all thrown over 13% of the time. So he is pretty evenly mixing 6 pitches, which is good. Obviously, that he's confident enough to throw them all, but it also, I think, is good because as he sees more success with some of these, he can, up his usage of all of them and mix in these other ones as he feels a little more comfortable with them. But so far, his best performing pitch as far as opponent expected weighted on base, and observed weighted on base, I guess, is his slider and curveball. So both those off speed offerings. And then he's technically throwing kind of 3 fastball-ish offerings with a sinker, a 4-seam, and a cutter. His cutter has performed pretty well. And then 4-seam hasn't performed well in observed stats, but the expected outcomes of the batted balls are actually pretty good. From what I saw, his 4-seam doesn't seem to have a ton of movement, but it is a 4-seam, so it's not really its purpose, I guess. But between that, the sinker and the cutter, and then mixing in those curveball sliders, I expect big things. And his changeup so far has been hit pretty well, but again, the expected outcomes really aren't that bad either. So I'm pretty excited to see how he decides to utilize that just I know like when we were younger, I'd go play like 2K baseball or whatever, and you always wanted the guy that you could hit every extra button to throw 6 pitches, right? Like you'd have to hold down L2 and something else or whatever it was to throw like the dude's sixth offering. Um, and I don't know, even as a like little kid, you feel like you're going to be better off when you can throw literally 6 different pitches at a guy. So uh, I think with some time, he'll grow into what he's a little more comfortable with and what's performing better. I know he's a guy that they had discussed um, not wanting to rush up necessarily, I think. And due to injury, they had to. So he'll have to do a little bit of growing here. And we'll see how much time he has to do that. I know there's some guys coming back soon too, but I'm not displeased with the outings so far.
Yeah, all I could think about while you're saying that is looking at your background, and you got to Photoshop our faces onto BA and Rock in that picture for our album cover for this. All right, looking at the standings. Like I said, 42 and 30, 12 games over 500. I did tweet the other day that through 71 games, super random and arbitrary, but it was just after the week was over. So through 71 games, we were tied with since 2011. We were tied with the 2014 and 2018 teams with 42 wins. So I had loss on yesterday, but great start relative to recent Brewers history. We have a 5.5 game lead over the Cardinals, who are finally over 500, 1 game over 500. They're playing really good baseball right now. The Cubs are in the cellar, 8.5 back of the Brewers with a 34 and 39 record. And then around the league is our typical five: the Phillies, Dodgers, Mariners, Guardians, not Gardeners, Yankees. Leading the other 5 divisions. So not much shakeup there. And then getting into the Brewers injuries, transactions, and news. Unfortunately, it seems like Abner Uribe needs doesn't even seem like it. He does need knee surgery on a torn meniscus. He had the other knee already repaired. This does not rule him out from returning this season, but he'll obviously have an uphill battle with the surgery and then serving a suspension when he gets back. So you are our podcast torn meniscus 2-time survivor, expert, analyst. So what can you add to that for us? What can we expect from Mr. Abner Uribe?
Yeah, it actually does kind of depend on the type of tear. There's 2 main different procedures they do on them. One is the meniscectomy, I believe it's pronounced, but that's where they literally just cut out the torn part because it doesn't really repair and it's just cartilage that gets caught in your knee. They always say, think of it, the meniscus as like the shock absorber in your knee. It's cartilage right in the connection there. And that's what a lot of people end up getting, and that's a quicker recovery. And I think from what they said his timeline was, it looks like that's what they'll do. So you generally can walk out of surgery pretty much and slowly work your way back and just start to, anytime there's a scope thrown on your knee, you got to feel comfortable again. But then there's also repairs, which is what I had on one, and you have to like keep your legs straight for like 2 months and let blood flow get through your knee and hope that the repair takes, because with it being cartilage, there's not a ton of the whatever blood or necessary tools, I guess, for it to rebuild. But it looks like it's just a meniscectomy and they're going to cut out the issue, and hopefully he's back pretty soon. My second meniscus tear did come in my last ever Land of Lakes baseball game. It was on a double, and I held up at 2, but that was one of my few doubles in my last double, I think. So
Yeah, I always say that you remind me of Abner Uribe.
yeah, I don't punch like him though.
And then the Brewers traded for Casey Martin from the Phillies. He's an infielder. He was assigned to Double-A Biloxi, it looks like. And going there with him will be Dylan O'Ray, who we've profiled before. He's going to move up. Another Phillies infielder, that's obviously where we got Oliver Dunn from. And then obviously Carlos F. Rodriguez came up, and in that move, Kevin Herget was optioned and James Meeker was DFA'd. The Brewers signed Joel Kuhnel to a minor league deal. He was with the Astros earlier this year. He's been with the Reds, I believe it was, in the past. So he's got some major league experience. Nothing too impressive, but just another arm to keep watch on in that pitching lab. And then Garrett Mitchell, DL Hall, and JB Bukowskis started rehabbing in Nashville. Unfortunately, Bukowskis had the setback. DL Hall had a good outing. And then Garrett Mitchell, they said he'll be taking a little while. So I don't know if that means 2 weeks or a month, but hopefully get Garrett Mitchell back. I'm excited to see him. He hasn't been able to show too much in the major leagues yet, but the little bit he has shown has been pretty promising. So doesn't hit the ball overly hard. But the numbers have been pretty good, and he plays a solid center field. He's athletic, quick. He's got a good looking swing, I think. So hopefully we can see Garrett Mitchell helping out the major league squad soon. And then DL Hall, we really need to get him back. I still have really high hopes for him. So hopefully his knee's doing better, and he's got some of the command and velo issues worked out, because we could really benefit from him.
Yep, and Junis, two guys that
Yeah.
at the start of the year, I think, were in our projected starting rotation.
Yeah.
And Ross.
Junis and
What am I
Ross.
talking about?
Junis and Ross still out. I mean, yeah, we've used 12 starters already, one of which
Yeah.
is Koenig, but 11 actual starting pitchers already on June 18th. And then around the farm,
If it hadn't been for those meddling kids.
If it hadn't been for you meddling kids. Ah, meddling kids. If it hadn't been for these meddling laddies.
Tyler Black this year in AAA has played 52 games, and he has 99 total bases, 41 runs batted in, and is 11 for 13 in stolen bases. If you were to triple that over a full season, that's 33 bags and 123 runs batted in, and just shy of 300 total bases. So he's still hot down there. Can't wait to see him back, even if it doesn't really make sense to bring him back. I'm really excited about Tyler Black. And then we have 4 pitchers that the Brewers invented this week in the minor leagues, because every week we have new pitchers. Right-handed pitcher Dikembe Sanchez in the Arizona Complex League has started this year with 22 strikeouts to only 4 walks in 13 innings. Mudcats right-handed pitcher Aiden Maldonado over the last month has 15 and a third innings, 3 runs, 21 Ks, 5 walks. Really weird arm slot, not slot, but like, I don't know, the way it comes through looks like he can throw some nasty some pronated, I don't know if it was a changeup or a sinker, but something that comes back the other way with this weird funky arm motion. And then a pair of Timber Rattler right-handers, Casey Hunt had 8 strikeouts and 1 hit and 1 walk the other day over 6 scoreless on the year. He's got 40 innings with 62 strikeouts and only 6 walks. And then his counterpart Manuel Rodriguez went 7 innings, 6 hits, 6 Ks, and a walk the other day. So just a bunch of new pitchers in the farm every year, or every week, I should say, that pop up and look like the Brewers farm system and pitching lab are doing its job. And then Craig Yoho, this stat wasn't clear. I'm pretty sure that means that his total stats for MILB this year, not just since his call up. So apologies if I'm wrong, but I interpret it as he is leading all of MILB in K percentage and K to walk ratio this year combined. So Yoho continues to dominate, and we could see him in Nashville pretty soon, and I would not rule him out for the Brewers bullpen at the end of the year. Did I miss anything for around the farm or Brewers news that you got to add?
No, I think for the Brewer stuff, you hit pretty much all of it on the head. I'm excited to see how Ray does with the promotion. He's profiled as a really good bat to ball guy, which I guess we have a lot of in our outfield. Well, at least with 2 of our current kind of outfielders of the 4, but curious to see. And I know he's Canadian, and I think I saw again from Javik, 4 Canadians in Biloxi right now, I guess. Joey Votto next? I don't know.
It doesn't even count Tyler Black, who was the first one that comes to mind.
Yep.
All right, my random game in Brewers history.
Random.
June 15th, 1999, going back to
It was the day after I was born.
Was it
There's
really?
a pretty good chance. No, I guess my mom probably would have been out of the hospital by then. But yeah, that was the day after I was born. So let's hear what happened. Let's hear what I brought into the world.
Which I guess was 25 years ago the other day. Spoiler, you already saw it on Twitter. But It was a Brewers Cubs NL Central rivalry game. I would love to know what that looked like in the early stages of the rivalry, if it was really a big deal or not. I'd have to imagine not really, especially with the Brewers not being good.
Well, were the
But
Cubs even still okay in the late 90s?
I mean, early 2000s, I know they had some good years, so I'm not even honestly sure. But Jim Abbott in his 10th and final year in MLB had never hit prior to this season. He had an RBI.
He had two hands, dude. I saw the video.
Yeah. Somebody tried to tell me that he had two hands, so whatever. That was quite literally the only thing I knew about him in my childhood, was that Jim Abbott, the one-handed pitcher. He never had a hit prior to the season, or never even hit prior to the season. He had an RBI single. Jeff Jenkins was thrown out at third on the play. Unfortunately, he would get the loss in a 7-4 loss against the Cubs. But Jeremy Burnett's homered in the game. Abbott was 2 for 21 that season with 3 runs batted in. Kind of incredible to have a dude who just didn't hit. I don't know what his background was in hitting, but I couldn't go up there with 2 hands and get 2 hits in maybe the entirety of his 10-year career. So impressive. And then some of the other MLB news, umpire Pat Hoberg was caught gambling, I guess. There's not really much info out on that yet, but he's being punished. I feel like it's got to be a even bigger no-no than the players gambling, than the umpires gambling on baseball. I don't know how you can. That to me seems like the easiest goodbye from baseball for good, because the second you have the umpires ruining things, I don't know. Do you think that's worse than the players?
I mean, if it's on the game he's calling, then yeah. If it's on other games,
Yeah, I guess.
still shouldn't be doing it. But
Right.
I'm pretty sure I heard he's like one of the better graded out umps, which is
Yeah,
what
like
makes
the
it funny.
best. Yeah.
Is that how he's fixing the books? Is he's actually just calling the
Yeah.
games right?
He's trying harder. He's motivating himself. And our friend Keston Hiura is raking, as he does in AAA, for the Salt Lake City Bees of the Los Angeles Angels organization. I could see him making it back to the show this year with the Angels. They don't really have much to lose anymore, and why not give him a shot?
Not sure Ron Washington's really gonna click with Keston on the infield. I know he's quite the stickler for
Yeah,
fundamentals.
right. Yeah, I mean, Keston's MLB numbers aren't actually that bad, but there has to be something behind the scenes besides the defense that MLB scouts and talent evaluators see that the general fan doesn't see, because teams continue to pass on him, which I can't believe. He has like over a career 800 OPS. He obviously had that one really bad year, and then in AAA, he keeps showing that he's one of the best AAA players. He was the Nashville Sounds MVP last year. So I don't know. Wishing the best to Keston for sure. It's was an unfortunate situation for both sides, I think. So hope to see him be good someday. And I would not be surprised if he had an all-star appearance in his career before it's all said and done, if he can put it together like he did in 2019 one more time.
You wouldn't be surprised if Keston was an all-star?
I wouldn't be
The guy
surprised.
can't get on a major league roster.
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know, dude.
Say it's possible. You'd have to be surprised.
I don't know that I'd be surprised. I mean, I just like, he was so good in 2019, and then you think, oh, he was so bad. But if you look, like I said, his cumulative MLB stats are not that bad, and that's including one
Offensive stats, but yeah,
Offensive stats,
I'm
correct.
just, I mean, I am not saying I don't think he's based on that somewhat capable of being in a major league lineup, but I would still be surprised if he was an all-star. The guy literally has been bounced around and DFA'd, but hey,
I don't know. I feel like I could see him one year coming up and having 20 home runs at the break somehow. And
I guess you didn't even say major league all-star, right? Because he's fast tracking a AAA all-star appearance.
Yeah, I'm sure he probably was last year.
Yeah, I'm sure he has.
Dudes like that decline. They have an all-star game, right? I'm pretty sure they do.
I guess I don't know.
Do you think dudes like that decline all-star game? Like guys who've been in the majors for 4 years, like they're not on rehab, but they're like DFA trying to make. Do you think they're like, no, fuck that, I'm not playing the AAA all-star game?
Hey man, you got to be good at something.
Mm-hmm. Or a guy's declined his call-up because he's got the AAA all-star game coming up.
I guess they might not anymore. I just Googled it and it says the AAA all-star game they used to have one, but it stopped in 2019,
I
according
was
to
gonna
this.
say, let me guess, like COVID year.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like. Well, actually, speaking of that, around the farm, I think I saw the Timber Rattlers that clinched the
Yeah.
first half or whatever. And they're Carolina might have too. I think someone else might have as well.
Uh, yeah, I guess I don't know which team it was. Now that you say those two, but yeah, kind of funny that they do that in the minors. I know they
It
do.
makes sense to me.
They do that in the Northwoods too, where you can clinch first half and second half spots, and then you're in. Kind of cool.
Yeah. But especially in the like minor league, I mean,
Right.
when you lose all your talent, to be fair, I don't know if you're really deserving to be a playoff team then if all your good players are gone, but
Right.
you did play it well enough to get there.
And then old friend Daniel Vogelback was DFA'd. We were talking about the graveyard of ex-Brewers that are just David Stearns is bringing them in and seeing if he can juice any more talent out of them and then leaving them to die. So he's gone. And then the one name I wanted to mention that was also DFA'd is the Twins just DFA'd Diego Castillo, who as recently as a couple years ago was incredible in the bullpen. That would be a guy I would love to see the Brewers go get on like a minor league deal and just try it out and see if they can spark something in him for September because he was really good at times with the Rays. I don't know if you have anything else for around the major league news or if you just want to save them for final thoughts, but
I'll save some and say some. One that I thought was I watched the Red Sox Yankees game on Sunday. ESPN got me there. Luckily, I didn't have to listen to A-Rod. He was on the Fox call. But 9 steals on the Yankees. And I just was like, could you imagine if,
in one game,
yeah, the
holy
Red Sox
shit.
set a record. Yeah.
I
Could
didn't
you
know that.
imagine if, I mean, it was Stroman and Trevino, I think was the catcher for the game. Could you imagine this Brewers team against that combo? I mean, the
Yeah.
Red Sox, they do run a good amount. I think they're 4th maybe in the league, but yeah, it was absurd. Literally every time there was someone on base, they were basically running to third. It
That's
was an
crazy.
interesting series, and it's kind of fun to see. I mean, I don't know, as much as it's fun to hate the Yankees, like seeing them in that Dodgers series and then a week later the Red Sox series, and the Red Sox gave some fight, and it's just fun when the big historic franchises are
Mhm.
showing those kind of historic rivalries and stuff.
And how cool is Judge and Soto? Like
Yeah.
they're both super likable in my opinion. So it's really
Yeah. And
cool to see those
Verdugo.
two.
Verdugo
Yeah.
reminded me of Tatum after the game. Verdugo was the last player to leave the field and was just observing. Like, dude,
Yeah.
relax.
I know I saw that. So corny. I can't wait for
Yeah.
this podcast and I can go, we did it. We did it.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
dude.
so like the look on his face. I'm
I
like,
was
"Get out
so
of here."
happy that Jaylen Brown got the MVP for the finals too. Right after right after people were saying that he's better, blah blah blah, and Jaylen Brown gets the finals MVP, and it's like, all right, well, I still have to look at Tatum in all the headlines, but
Yeah, it was corny. Shout out to Drew Holiday though.
yeah.
All right, the upcoming schedule for the Brewers, like we said, they're in Cali right now, playing the Angels, and then they head south to play the Padres. And then the defending champions come to town. The Texas Rangers will be at Miller Park. And then Craig comes back to town. So get your booze ready. My beer of the week.
I'll have a brewski, Charlie. Well, there's nothing like a cold one after a long day, huh? Oh, yeah. I've been known to drink a beer or two.
I had the Eagle Park Billy Ray Citrus again. I haven't had it in a couple years, but it was on tap at the little tap stand around section 208-ish, I'll say. Again, it just hit again. It was amazing. Love me some Billy Ray Citrus from local Eagle Park Brewing.
I think. Oh, before I went to the game on Tuesday with you, I shout out Worst Bar around the corner here, but their Tuesday specials like all day $3 $3 drinks, happy hour all day. So I had a friend meet me there, and they had Billy Ray Citrus on tap, and I got it, convinced him to get it, and he was impressed.
Very good. All right, final thoughts. DJ Hers made his was that his debut? It wasn't his debut. Like his third, I think it was like his third start. He had 13 Ks in a start. And he notably was the first of two parts of a return for Jeimer Candelario from the Cubs. So when the Cubs could probably use some pitching, maybe not in their starting rotation, but when they could be using some pitching right now, they sent a dude who looked pretty dang good.
Yeah, I will say I kind of looked into some of his stuff and how it's performed in the past, as well as just what he was throwing that day. And his whiffs, I don't even think were that high. I'm curious to see if he sustains it, but it is eye popping, his stat line. So
Yeah.
we'll see if he keeps it up. Good for the
Sure.
Nats, by the way. The Nats are
Yeah.
they're like preseason, I think win total was like 66 to bet on. And I'm gonna have to guess they beat it, but we'll see. They're one of those teams that this expanded playoff is just gotta be confusing for, because they're technically in the hunt, but like, is this really their window? I don't know. But
Yeah, just a partial year of Jeimer Candelario, and they didn't even see the playoffs. So
it sucks.
yeah, I feel bad for him. You sent this, but Seaver Sheets, am I stealing it from you? They the son of Ben Sheets is pitching for the Lakeshore Chinooks right now in the Northwoods League. So I think he started as a hitter. Is that what the tweet said? But I know now that he's at ULM as a pitcher.
Yeah. Yep. Hopefully the skin on his fingers is a little more sturdy than his pops, and he won't have quite as many blister IL stints.
We got the College World Series going on right now, obviously.
Oh.
Tennessee is in, and they got a kid in the bullpen by the name of Nate Snead from South Milwaukee High School, and he tops out at about 101 or 102 miles an hour. So he's been closing out games for Tennessee. So if you haven't watched Nate Snead pitch, go check it out. He's on the best team in college baseball right now, and he throws smoke. So we'll probably see him in Major League Baseball someday, if I had to guess.
College World Series is so fun. Just like all the different storylines, the extra. It's like the last time it seems like some of the like youth baseball type vibe. You know, the guys are having so much fun in the dugout, and I don't know if they're really doing like chants, I guess, but just a lot more of that vibe where it's feels a little more organic, I guess, or I don't know. It's just so fun to watch, and there's such good talent. You get to hear the ping of the metal bats, and it's fun.
Yeah, I was just saying to somebody recently how the format is so cool too. How it's like you just keep playing until you lose two games. So it's not a round robin and it's not a true series, but the two sides of four just keep playing until everyone but one loses two games. So interesting format. So it's kind of cool how we're gonna get to a point likely where there's two matchups where one team will advance with one win and one team will advance with two wins on the day against the same team. So and they've likely already played each other. So kind of a best of three series spread out a little bit. Interesting concept, and I like it. And then I like how they go back to regular for the last two and just play a true best of three. But yeah, really cool. This is the first year I've watched like pretty much every game of the College World Series, and I guess I don't really know why I wasn't watching college baseball, to be honest, but I feel like a lot of people can say that it's gotten more popular recently, and you can make an argument now that you're better off going to play in the SEC or the ACC than you are getting drafted out of high school and playing minor league baseball, especially with the opportunity to make some money in NIL. And like SEC baseball has to be, I would say, equivalent to low A or high A baseball, almost for sure, considering a lot of those kids are fresh out of high school. You know, they might have a huge upside, but they haven't played college ball. And almost everyone in the starting lineups of this College World Series, 8 teams are going to get drafted when they're eligible. It's more televised and honestly probably more fun. I mean, you got to go to class, but other than that, I mean, I don't know. I would seriously consider it if I was thinking about getting drafted late out of high school or going to play SEC baseball.
Yeah.
Luckily, I did
Between
not
the
have to
ACC
make
and
that
SEC.
decision.
Yeah. I was just thinking too when you were talking about it, and I was thinking about conferences. The Pac-12. I haven't thought about it, but does this mean that UCLA and USC are going to have to come to Iowa in March and April?
That's the whole.
That sucks.
That's been the whole thing when they were talking about one of the college football coaches, and I can't
Well,
remember.
I get it. I get it for the football
Oh yeah,
and basketball.
yeah.
It's like I don't know.
100%.
At least Big Ten football was seen as equal to Pac-12. Whatever. I just can't imagine two Southern California teams hopping on a plane at that time of year to come up north to play baseball.
Oh, that's the thing is what I was saying. It was the college football coach we saw, and I can't remember who, but it was one of the big names. He's like, they should just do this for football and maybe basketball too, but the optic or the logistics of of USC flying home from Rutgers on on Sunday night at 5 p.m. to get to their Monday class, like yeah, I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure none of the kids really give a fuck, to be honest. Like that's got to be so cool, but yeah, they're gonna be in the Big Ten, and there'll be 17 now college baseball teams in the Big Ten, with the one being Wisconsin, which I just do not understand. I know no one understands, but I don't get it, man. Invent a women's sport, please. Pickleball, maybe? I don't know. Something.
Could be a women's baseball team.
Yeah, I don't know, man, but it's sad. That's a big reason why I haven't watched college baseball, because I grew up watching every Badger football and basketball game, and
yeah,
like I definitely would have watched baseball too. So
I will say I don't really see a route where we have a really good program. Ever.
I don't know. I just saw a graphic recently where you could make a starting lineup of MLB.
Yeah, but you could do that for basketball too. And how often do we even lose basketball talent?
No,
and it's a lot easier to lose baseball talent.
For sure, for sure. But you got to figure some of those guys that I don't know. I mean, clearly the Big Ten isn't actually that good at baseball, because we haven't seen one team in the College World Series. But I mean, I'll tell you what, I think that, no disrespect to UWM, but like,
hey, Craig Yoho's from Indiana, and
Matt
Wood in the minors is from Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
There's some guys, but
yeah, like no disrespect to the Big Ten or even like I said, like UWM, but I mean it's good baseball, but UWM compared, like I bet we could get much better than that at Wisconsin, even if it's not a College World Series contending team, I guess is my point. So based on the local guys who have gone recently, whether it's first round picks out of high school and Lux and Kalanick or whoever else.
I was always surprised too that, like, I mean, this might show my biases, but like even Marquette wouldn't invest some money and kind of be one of those niche schools that can, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, I mean, college baseball doesn't make that much money, obviously, but I gotta imagine some of the Power 5 schools can at least come close to breaking even.
Yeah, I think the problem is where just the weather itself is
right.
Is there really a program that's north of the Mason-Dixon that's consistently a good baseball, like that good of a baseball program? Virginia is not. That's south of Mason-Dixon, I guess, technically.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, no,
you can't think of an example.
Yeah, good point. But I mean,
I guess Oregon State.
I was gonna say Oregon. Oregon State's been good.
The Pacific Northwest, but yeah.
I guess my point is there's 17 of 18 in the Big Ten, and
still not Wisconsin.
One of them's Minnesota. Minnesota throws like the biggest college baseball tournament. Both of my college teams played in it at US Bank Stadium, on the Vikings field. Like, there's a path to have some cool things happen to Badger baseball, whether they're a national contender or not. But
we should specify there is Badger baseball. Shout out to the club baseball team.
Shout out to the club.
Distinguished alumni Ryan Hubble.
Mm-hmm.
But we're talking about a Division I NCAA sanctioned version of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bummer. Hopefully someday. Hopefully someday soon. Yeah, the last two things I had is Max Scherzer's making his debut this weekend. I just saw the graphic of, like, while we were on our break here, of Scherzer, Porcello, Price, Robbie Ray too was listed on that, which I didn't even realize, and then all their Cy Youngs. Apparently, he was on the 2014 team. I don't think he was in that rotation. I'd have to double check that. Maybe that was a typo, but I did just see him, and how those 5 have combined for like 10 no-hitters or 10 Cy Youngs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Almost one extra perfect game, right?
Robbie Ray made 6 starts as a rookie for that team.
Actually, sorry, that wasn't none of those guys.
Galarraga.
Galarraga.
Yeah.
But was he on that team?
Robbie
No,
Galarraga.
Galarraga.
I don't know. That
Was he after?
That was Miggy at first, and he didn't play first in 12 or 13 because Prince was there, so that might have been 14.
Yeah, I was gonna
I'm
say.
gonna look right now.
Seemed like that
Galarraga was
era.
on. No, it was before Prince. 08 to 10 is when he was on the team.
Dang, I'm getting old.
Dude, you know what I found out today? Doing the Immaculate Grid. Did you do your Immaculate Grid yet?
Not yet.
I can't say it.
So here, I'll take my headphones off.
All right,
You
take your
say it
headphones off.
just so the crowd knows.
All right. Joey Votto won an MVP, but does not have a Silver Slugger, which I cannot believe. How do you not win a Silver Slugger in the year as a position player that you won MVP? Crazy.
Wow, I can't believe it.
When you chop that up, buddy, you're going to be surprised. And I think
Oh yeah, I better do it right after this.
you
then.
might get it wrong on the grid. I cannot
Well,
believe it.
now you're giving me kind of a hint, I feel like.
Yeah.
I got to second guess myself today.
Last thing I had is the Iowa Cubs. So the AAA team for the Cubs
Boo!
just released Carl Edwards Jr.
Oh, dang.
And according to this random person on Twitter,
That's normally the best source for information.
yeah, had a 1.85 ERA and a 2.27 batting average against in AAA. So,
He was sick for a while. I actually really for some reason, I liked him a lot.
Yeah.
So,
and while the major league team can't
Sucks,
buy a
yeah.
save, I don't get that. So,
yeah.
pretty wild. You got anything else?
Yeah. Mookie Yamamoto both went down. I think that's kind of crazy. Especially that the Dodgers have been, or the rhetoric has been the Dodgers need a shortstop, and then their stand-in shortstop just went down. Interested to see what they do. Rizzo broke their forearm, I think, too. So Yankees losing some pieces. It was funny. I forgot who was talking about it, but like, if the Mets sold and Alonso just stayed in town, I don't think there's any way they'd do it. But I know there's been a couple in the past of White Sox Cubs trades. It's always interesting when the trade is intercity.
Yeah, to me that doesn't I don't really get why that would matter because
It's
there's a
just like your
rivalry,
rivalry and
but
brand in the city.
I guess, yeah.
Especially like if you're the Mets and you're kind of seen as the younger brother, and it's like,
No, yeah, I
okay,
get
just
it.
take our good player so you guys can go try to win another World Series.
You have to try to get a good return. Yeah.
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 But
that
I'm
Betts
not
injury,
sure the Mets will be trading because they got Grimace on their side,
and they're
dude.
6-0, baby.
6-0 in the Grimace era. That actually made me think of it, and our podcast today might answer my question. But who could the Brewers Grimace be if we got to get right? Obviously, we saw Snoop, so I guess Snoop aside, what are we thinking? Who's trying to think of a kind of outside?
Are we a Hamburglar club? I don't know.
Yeah, the Burger King maybe rolls in. That'd
Yeah.
be kind of sick.
I was gonna say Mookie Betts' injury might just get Willy into the All-Star game. Not that he wasn't already a good candidate, but taking out Mookie, I feel like gives Willy a much better shot.
Yeah. Sorry, I guess I have some other final thoughts, but that reminded me of I did a bunch of homework to talk about the All-Star race, so I might as well utilize it. Obviously, Contreras is in first for now and will hold the top 2 spots, I think, to get into that vote. And regardless, he's going to be in the game. We'll see if he holds on to be a starter. Not going to worry about first base, Mr. Jake Bowers, but second base, I don't think we're going to get Terang into the final 2 vote because he's in 6th.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But I pulled up some of the numbers, and if you look at WAR, Terang's 3.1, B-WAR, Marte's 4, and the next closest WAR out of all of the top 6 is Bryson Stott at 1.6. So he has half of Bryce Terang's WAR. The highest on base percentage out of all the candidates, including Luis Arias, who everyone talks about his ability to hit singles, basically. Bryce Terang has a higher on base percentage, and Bryce Terang has 26 steals, by far the most of the group. So I don't get what's going on. Gavin Lux, no hate to Gavin Lux, Wisconsin boy, could have been a Badger, as Scoop would say, but he has 0.1 WAR, and he's in 5th ahead of 3.1 WAR Bryce Terang. And DRS, so defensive run save. Bryce Turang has 7, Marte has 11. The baseball savant defensive run value doesn't value Turang as high for some reason, but DRS he's second. So, and die test tells me he's a hell of a fielder. So I just don't get it at all, to be honest with you. And hopefully some of the back end work to get players into the All-Star game favors Turang because he's definitely deserving.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not even saying this bias, but I really feel like we have 6 guys that should be all-stars, and maybe if you don't want to say that Hudson's an all-star just because he's not a closer or starter, fair enough, I guess. But those 5 position players I feel like are all very, very worthy. And also, how cool is it that Yelly's probably gonna start the All-Star game after a couple of years of, oh shit, did we fuck up on that deal? And is Yelly bad? And last year you put together a really good year and now starting the All-Star game. So I want to give him his flowers because people are quick to speak up when it's the opposite, when it's the negative opinion. So
yep. He's got what Bryce Turang doesn't have, and that's a name that everyone knows. And the position's weak. Where second base, I guess stats wise isn't that strong, but yeah, sorry, I have some numbers on Willy too. He's in 5th in voting, which again is crazy, behind 0.9 WAR Orlando Arcia, friend of the area, but Willy's got 1.8 WAR, B WAR. Ellie De La Cruz has 2.1. Mookie had 3.9. And then Trey Turner, who's also ahead of Willy, has 1.6. It's kind of crazy. Trey Turner's hitting 345, but he's only played in 34 games. He's literally played in less than half the amount of games as Adames, but his WAR figure is only 0.2 less. So that is crazy. But out of all the shortstops, Willy is tied in games played at 72, has the most homers and the most RBI.
Damn right. And 11 ahead of Mookie in the NL.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah.
No, I know. I'm not saying
Ellie does have a higher OPS too, but I think Willy still might be able to sneak in the All-Star game.
51 runs batted in midway through June is pretty impressive in my opinion, especially for a guy who's that good at playing defense at shortstop.
Yeah, but part of that is just because these Milwaukee Brewers are so good, Alex.
That's right. We have too many All-Stars.
Yeah, but interesting to see. I don't know. Trey Turner shouldn't be that high because he's only played in 34 games, but does have some good numbers. But again, defensively, interesting, kind of opposite of the Turang case. Willy's DRS isn't that good, but his Statcast fielding value is the best. So I'm going to very selectively choose what defensive metrics I use by player.
As you should.
And for Willy, I like his fielding run value. And then the most obvious one, and the one that we need to start the movement on for the most deserving surprise candidate. I guess Turang also almost has that argument. But, Alex, do you know where I'm going with this?
Every single day, third baseman, Mr. Joey Ortiz.
Yep, only just over 20,000 votes behind Manny Machado, which is interesting. So they're both around 250,000, and Bohm has 1 million votes. So we're playing for second here, which should we be playing for second or first? Let the stats tell you, but we're playing for second. Out of all of the third basemen available, and this is their total games, which I'll get into because we know Joey mixes in a little bit at, short when needed, maybe. But Bohm is capable of playing first, and Machado, which I'll get to, actually has played more games at DH than third. So is he even a third baseman? But WAR-wise, Manny Machado, 0.2 WAR. So it's an interesting case. Alec Bohm, 1.9 WAR. Joey Ortiz, 2.1 B WAR. Even without the mustache, he should get in. Counting stats-wise, Alec Bohm started so hot and also has played in more games than Ortiz and Machado. So he's getting it done there. He's got 60 RBI. That's kind of crazy. But Joey Ortiz has the best on-base percentage out of the three at 381. His OPS is actually tied with Alec Bohm at 848. And that might make you wonder, where's Manny's OPS if he's ahead of him, ahead of the two guys with the same OPS. well, just ahead of one of them. But Manny Machado's OPS 672.
Yeah, it's brutal.
6-7. He is almost 200 OPS points behind Joey Ortiz. And that doesn't even get into the fact that out of these three candidates, Joey Ortiz is better at defense by both DRS and fielding run value. So he's a better fielder. He's a better hitter. I'm not really sure.
And he's better looking.
Yeah, dude, I might have to share Manny Machado's picture that on Baseball Reference is not pretty. So you are correct. He is better looking. I will say can you guess the one batting stat that Manny Machado has Joey Ortiz edged out in?
Strikeouts. No, I'm kidding. Home
Well,
runs.
probably. No, it is. Well, they're actually tied on home runs.
Really?
Machado has 5 steals. He has the most steals out of these three candidates, apparently.
Mr. Johnny Hustle.
I guess so. But yeah, Joey Ortiz needs to get it done. I'm pretty sure there might be a clip out there. No, maybe Snoop didn't hype him up. He was hyping up some other guys like Terang, who deserves the love. But Joey Ortiz is very well deserving, and is an all-star. We'll see if he gets into that final vote to start. But otherwise, again, hopefully the forces behind the scenes get him into the game because he is deserving.
Yeah, you gotta hope the fans at least can get the starter right when this voting is all said and done, and then the players and coaches can get the reserves right. So obviously, it's not like the top two are the two all-stars. So hopefully, the fans can at least figure it out. Get Joey into the phase 2 just for the looks of it, and then hopefully the coaches save the day and we get 3/4 of our infield in the all-star game.
Yep. I got 2 other, I guess, closing thoughts. I think today AAA is doing the full ABS stuff the rest of the season. So the automated ball strike. So maybe we're getting closer to that. We'll have to see. But that should be interesting. I know that was one thing actually when Carlos F. Rodriguez started slow when he got moved up to AAA was he wasn't used to that. So he had to get used to the new zone. So I'd be curious if they change it for a guy like Verlander, for example, a dude who has never had that and he's been in the league for how long, and MLB would have to adapt, but we'll see. And then I lied. I have one other thing too. Draft Combine started today, I think. So check out some of the guys that aren't in the College World Series. And it's always kind of a fun event. It's never going to rival exactly what football has just from the nature of it, but it is pretty crazy to see some of the metrics, especially as a lot of these advanced metrics get more popular. Just all that stuff. Something to keep an eye on and fill your time with. And then what I wanted to say, which it'll be too late for today, because we recorded on Tuesday, is the kind of Rickwood Field, I guess, events are kicking off. So in Birmingham, Alabama, Birmingham, that's how they say it in England, but Birmingham is how we say it in America. The AA affiliate of the White Sox and the Rays, the Barons and the Biscuits, are going at it today as a kind of preview to the Rickwood Field game. They are playing as never mind. The Birmingham Barons are playing as the Black Barons, so they are still the Barons. The Biscuits are playing as the Gray Sox to put it back into the times of the Negro League games there. But that is on tonight, and then Thursday, I think, is the Major League version of the Cardinals and the Giants. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so
Check.
pretty cool. It says more than 180 future Hall of Famers played at Rickwood Field,
Wow.
including a then 17-year-old Birmingham native Willie Mays.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Thursday at 6:15 Central.
Yeah, I love the all the old fields and the especially with the news this year, right, where the stats are all together now.
I watched that Reggie Jackson documentary on Amazon Prime or Prime Video, and he did some of his. I think that they had a AAA team there when they were still the Kansas City A's, maybe even, and he did some of the interview with Riley Fingers too, sitting in the stands of Rickwood. So
That's
that was
dope.
really cool. They recorded it probably 3 or 4 years ago now because Hank Aaron was in there as well, like interviewed. So you haven't seen, I think it's called Reggie on Prime Video. That was awesome.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of great players, it seems like, played for these two franchises. Other than Willie Mays, Satchel Paige played there. And one of my new favorite all-time turkey names is Norman Turkey Names. Spoiled it. Baseball names is Norman Turkey Stearns. All right, spoiled that one. Yeah. So it's always cool. The extra events the Brewers. Major League Baseball does when they
All
mix
right, I
in
think your brain's cooked.
when they mix in these alternate fields and stuff though. It's just cool to see a different setting.
Baseball's buzzing right now, especially here in Milwaukee. Brewers are good. The draft combine, the College World Series, the Rickwood,
Milkman,
the Milkman. All right, well, hey,
your Thursday night softball league, co-ed
Yeah.
league, or Wednesday night.
yep, the Swingers. Thanks for listening to the Brew Crew Snoop.